right, so here we are, ready for another episode of Connect the Dots, here with Darren Williams, as always, and we're going to try to rock your brain once again. So, today, Darren was really struck by the one quote that was from James Stewart last week, and I want to turn it over to him to kind of start us off on where we're going. We're going to be talking about the necessity of justice today.
Yeah.
So, without further ado, Darren, help yourself.
So can you guys all hear me out there? Can you hear me? So say the word that's the most beautiful word that's been part of our lives lately.
Contrariety.
Right. And that means to mutually, the difference between that word and contradiction. Contradiction is to mutually exclusive absolutes being affirmed at the same time and in the same sense. That word, your word, say it again.
Yeah, contrariety.
Is that which pulls together two polarities of the same truth.
That's right.
Okay, so the reason why I'm even bringing this back up again, not only to give reference for last week, but because we run into situations all the time where people say, well, God can't be this if he's that. So I want to read again this beautiful thing that was read last week by Steve. So here we go. The Scottish theologian James Stewart, he says, "He was the meekest and lowliest of all the sons of men. Yet he spoke of coming on the clouds of heaven with the glory of God. He was so austere that evil spirits and demons cried out in terror at his coming. Yet he was so genial and winsome and approachable that the children loved to play with him, and the little ones nestled in his arms. His presence at the innocent gaiety of a village wedding was like the presence of sunshine. No one was half so compassionate to sinners, yet no one ever spoke such red-hot, scorching words about sin. A bruised reed he would not break. His whole life was love, yet on one occasion he demanded of the Pharisees how they ever expected to escape the damnation of hell. He was a dreamer of dreams and a seer of visions, yet for sheer stark realism, he has all of our stark realists soundly beaten. He was a servant of all, washing the disciples' feet, yet masterfully he strode into the temple, and the hucksters and the money changers fell over one another to get away from the mad rush and the fire they saw blazing in his eyes. He saved others. At the very last, himself he did not save. There is nothing in history like the union of contrasts which confronts us in the Gospels. The mystery of Jesus is the mystery of divine personality."
Yeah, and that is deep.
Deep and beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. And it really does show a lot of the contrast, or demonstrates a lot of the contrast that God has demonstrated in his personality, almost simultaneously. Out of love, for his Father. He was jealous for the temple being made a mockery by people just doing flea market work in his house, and that's no, you don't do that, especially when people are coming and paying for sacrifices, and people are getting ripped off so they can get the dove or the lamb or whatever they're going to take to do the sacrifices for their offering of sin. They were totally being taken advantage of, and that was infuriating. But it was out of love for the people that really just wanted to come and do God's work that he did that. So you see both almost contradictory kind of actions going on at the same time. And that's the definition of what contrariety is that you see love and you see just raw, I'm mad as could possibly be about this, and you do something about it and brings the justice.
Right.
And chases out the money changers. So,
Yeah, and we talked about it in a way here, like, how did he do that? I mean, was it some choice words, or was it just, oh, it's all love? No, he threw over some tables, and he had just reason for doing that.
Oh, absolutely. And it really kind of calls into mind, when is the right time to do and say these different things? Do I have the capacity of a divine personality, or is this something that is like that God can do perfectly that we may never be able to attain? Mm-hmm. Have the both sides of the coin, if you will, being so huge and ominous of a figure with his authority, and yet so gentle that the kids would come and want to play with him.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have the same kind of capabilities there, or is this something that is exclusive to God? That's that's another side of the coin, or another question altogether. But the important thing, I think, to get out of this in a lot of ways, and you brought it up in your first statement, was that we have a kind of a predisposition, and I think sometimes it depends on how we're brought up. We have a predisposition of what God would be like.
Yes.
And if you've maybe grown up in a very authoritarian home, then God maybe is presupposed in your head to be super authoritarian, and so you'll gravitate more to the judgment or justice side. And then if you grow up in just a real loving home, and everything's close and it's really playful and stuff like that, you'll be more inclined to lean toward the loving God side. But the importance there is that we need both.
We do need both.
We need to understand that God is both, and he's both simultaneously. Mm-hmm. In kind of almost like a duality, mm-hmm. where you have both at the same time in the same spot.
Yeah, it's just like your parents.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're going to be having good days, bad days, or they can't always be coddling you.
Sure.
There's going to be a little something.
Yeah, exactly. But overall,
yeah.
that those you go into looking at God with these predispositions, and a lot of it has to do with your personal value. What have I done?
Yes.
What is it that I need to improve on? And woe is me, I'm such a evil person. And you can dwell on that to such a degree that you get lost and you're only seeing one side of God, because on the other, at the same side, that same personality has the traits of love that says, I give you grace, I love you, I extend mercy, and welcome you into my presence. But a lot of times you could go so far onto the love side that you say, you know what? It's because of grace that I can do anything I want, and you run with it.
Yes.
And you totally lose all sense of balance with the goodness and the badness and all those kind of things. And so if you're predisposed to a loving thing, anything that shows the evil side of God may turn you off. Not the evil side of God, but the vengeful side of God, I should rather say. And so you tend to gravitate towards seeing injustice and the things that God did that we don't have any idea. I think one of the big ones that I should look it up. I wonder if it is Genesis 9. Rabbit trail for just a half a second.
Rabbit trail. Well, we got 11 people.
Hey,
hello,
what's
Roger.
Go
hello,
ahead.
Charlie.
I'm going to try to look this up.
Dwayne, we thank you. Dwayne, thanks for coming back after last week. That was really cool. All the things that you guys jumped in. So Steve's always got a lot of really deep things to say. So we want to try to jump back and forth, and I want to acknowledge that you're out there. So, but anyway, Steve and I basically hang out, and we did come across some of these things in real life. So last week's teachings I thought were really important to say, hey, how is it relative into your everyday life? And we really did see it. So when you do have people that are really solid with their foundations of where they are coming from, it is possible. And I've witnessed it this last week with Steve, how they were able to have conversation and walk away as being friends instead of the debate and the ugliness and the whole drama. So it is possible. So the reason why I'm even bringing this up again for this week is to show that you really want to be in your foundation and know that it is possible for Jesus to be just more than just a happy-go-lucky, lovey guy. There are some things there, just like your parents. Your parents had raised you probably in, there's some stern days and there's some happy birthday days. So it's possible. So don't throw out the baby with the bathwater just because you get stuck on one view saying, well, God can't exist if God allows evil in the world, or God's all love.
That's
right,
great,
Steve?
dude. And I can't find it right off the top of my head. And I think what it had, I think it's right around Genesis 15. I'm not 100% positive. But it talks about, one of the big things that people refer to a lot of times when it comes to God being different in the Old and the New Testament is you see, the stories of Sodom and Gomorrah. You see the firstborn being annihilated in Egypt, and several other different things. And the other one is specifically, and the one that causes so much even contention today between the Israelis and the Palestinians, is that you have when Abram was going through the promised land, and he was wondering how he was going to get land, and he had just lost his wife and was looking for, had to buy a place to bury her and so forth. And God said, I think there was a question at some point somewhere where he said something to the effect of, why can't we just do this now? Abraham may have been asking. But God said, the sins of the people in this land have not yet come into their full. And at that point in time, the worship of Moloch, which was a lot of children sacrifice and a lot of things where people would cut themselves and stuff like that and throw themselves on an altar to, make it rain or do this or that or the other thing. But at any rate, they were getting into that, and they had plenty of opportunities. They had Abraham, of all people, walking right through their midst, and they never did turn to God. And their sins came to such a despicable degree that, all right, my people need a place to live 400 or some odd years later. Guess what? There, now you have a place to live, because these people, they're going to annihilate themselves or everybody else if you let them go. So out of evil, good. Out of good, evil. Sometimes. I mean, there's a lot of the cyclic things that you can observe in this world in a lot of ways that can be confused with something when God is kind of out of the picture, of having his hand on things. So back to the notes.
Yes.
So we have a problem here with a lot of times with spirituality. People are going to go ahead and just try to, not necessarily, they want to acknowledge a being, but they don't want to ascribe any kind of name to this being, like Allah or Christ or Buddha or whatever.
Ooh, and I just thought, I thought of this today. All these different names of God throughout the Bible, and I thought, if you really had a personal relationship with God, I'm sure you'd have your own name about God, how wonderful God was. What would that be?
Exactly. That would be a cool little pet thing, like, hey,
Yes.
Papa, or something like that. I've heard some people use that.
Yeah.
It's not in a name. The reason why people are trying to get rid of the names is to get rid of any formalized type of religion or belief system, because there's so much of abuse that has come about because of of people trying to gain power or influence over another people, and they've used their religion to do that. And so that's why that's why people a lot of times today will say religion is a poison and it needs to be eradicated.
Yes.
And so, since there is still a call to spirituality, you'll sometimes ascribe to the lesser goddish, centralized kind of a thing to accommodate, yes, there is a being out there, and I have to try to attain some type of oneness or relationship, and humans try to work it out on their own somehow. But the thing is that right now, okay, so basically right now we are in a problem. We, like Nietzsche said back in 1850, when he published that work, the parable of the madman. And he said, we don't have to pay for this. Deeds take time to gain renown. Lightning has time for the thunder to be heard. And so in the abandonment of God, now we're paying the price.
Yes.
And so we've just gone through one of the most awful, bloodletting centuries in all of history, the 20th century. And we have people trying to find their head with both hands and can't find it, because, well, do I believe this? Do I believe this? If I say this, somebody's going to jump on me. If I say this, somebody else is going to jump on me. Well, I'm just going to stay right here in the middle and try to believe what I believe that fits what everybody else believes, and not try to be overly offensive. that's where we're at.
It is where we're at.
In other words,
people
we don't have a foundation.
Yes. So this is why it's really important here. What we got going on is to make sure you have that foundation, because when one person said, "Hey, I'm seeing a lot of Christians, and they don't look like they're able to step up and be part of the battle," it's like we've got a battle going on right now, and are you solid where you stand, with firm, living what you really believe?
Exactly. And see, the thing is that no matter what's going on in the world,
yes,
God is still on his throne.
Mm-hmm.
He still has a destiny for each of us. We still have a commission that we have to fulfill, the Great Commission: go into all the world and preach the gospel,
yes,
telling other people about Jesus Christ and the importance of the cross. And we have to do that in essentially some evolving different ways. Because a lot of people are going to, especially like maybe on the fringes of more traditional conservative society, we have people who are somewhat conservative but not really, and still don't want anything to do with God, and they're going to want to know why you believe what you believe. They're going to have some different questions, or maybe a completely different belief system.
Yes.
That you have to be able to talk about.
Yeah.
Smartly, with gentleness and respect,
and which I got to witness. I got to witness to do this, and it's beautiful.
It was interesting, and I'm gonna time out just for a second, just to we'll get back to that in half a second, but we're going to be cutting these programs down to 30 minutes.
Yes, we are.
And so due to efficiency and some timing issues, and also we understand, in the words of Pastor Bob, that the mind can only absorb as much as the rear end can endure. And so if we're all sitting here for an hour and kind of droning off because I'm putting you to sleep with my voice, I don't want that to happen.
We don't want that to happen. And just throwing this out there, right? Look. Yeah. Somebody wrote an amazing book here, which you can find.
Hayden Cockrell.
That is right.
Yep.
This is a really, really interesting
read.
The
artwork is super cool. I mean, I only got a chance to read a couple pages because that's my first time seeing it tonight. But
I really feel bad I'm touching it without little white gloves. Or like that. This artwork.
That's really
amazing.
well done.
It
looks really well done.
So long story short, that's a long story in there. It's worth it. Worth the read.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So do check that out. All right. So what we're talking about is that we have some issues with people. Or I'm sorry, evil, and
always that ministry would be great if it wasn't for the people.
Take that back. Yeah. The problem of evil is that if we do not acknowledge a depraved center of our being, then we're gonna have a problem with God, because we wouldn't need Him if we didn't acknowledge that we're not all we think we are. Maybe not necessarily an overinflated ego, but the things that I do aren't that bad, or the things that I do out of necessity, and it might be in the gray area or something like that. No matter what, we're going to have to at some point make an accounting for that aspect of humanity. You take away law, you take away order. I mean, what's the first thing that we're going to want to do if there's no law around? No slap on the wrist whenever you step out of line or do something that's either socially not good or criminally not good or whatever. We always want to kind of go test the waters and see how far they can go.
Well, we've seen some testing of the waters. And long story short, it's like you would think that the utopian thing would happen, like everybody's going to get along, and has it really happened?
It hasn't really happened.
No.
And we have a problem a lot of times with trying to think that we can. I mean, America is a great idea for a wonderful experiment. How can mankind rule itself? And we have to say that we have liberty with restraint. And if we don't have restraint, then you're at liberty to do whatever you want, and there's nothing to stop you unless there's something there to provide correction. But the human tendency is to go that way. And why? I mean, what is it that...
And why is that? Why do we go the other way? Why do we go into reckless and chaos and?
We want to be self-determined.
Yes.
I think we want to know what's going on. We want to have our hands on. It's like the helicopter parents or the micromanaging boss. That's how we want to have hands on our life, so we can maintain control, maintain that comfort zone. I'll do as much as I'm comfortable with and no more. You had a good saying that said something like, morality is good until...
Morality is easy until it becomes personal.
Yes, exactly. Then you have to abide by your own morals. And how good does that feel? Are you willing to hold yourself to the same set of rules that you hold to which you hold others? Mm-hmm. So, at any rate, we'll get back some more on that in a little bit.
How are we doing on the time?
We're
9 minutes.
Yep,
we
got 9 minutes. Yep,
What's
we're good
going
to
on
go.
Someone's got an ebook. We've got the ebook.
Cool.
I didn't even know that was an ebook. I wanted that. Jamie's out there. Hey, Jamie, love your show. Mary, love your show. So I got to quit hitting the table. I apologize, everybody. I just get so excited.
Sending the earthquakes.
We had earthquakes today. When Steve, you were talking earlier about the having to wait for the thunder after the lightning.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness! Today I made a joke on Facebook that I thought that I missed the rapture because it was so loud and it was a clear sky. I thought, wow. A lot of people heard that one today in Nashville. Yes.
So back on track.
Yes. Yes.
That's all right. We'll go just a little bit further, and then we're gonna pause and come back because we're gonna have to do part 1 and part 2 now because we've been reduced to a half of an hour instead of an hour. So we're gonna be on the same topic next week.
and our clothes won't smell because we'll still be wearing them.
Exactly. So if you believe in something other than a Christian God, you're trying to wish away evil.
You really are.
And if Jesus was just a wise teacher, he was a nutcase for claiming to be God. In addition, he would be crazy to think that he wouldn't be putting his life in danger for pointing the finger of wrath at the political and social powerhouse of the time, the Pharisees. And so we really have to be, we have to be just like, dude, what were you thinking?
What were you thinking?
You're going and teaching every day in the courts, and almost every day you're getting in trouble by saying, dude, you brood of vipers. Oh, you whited sepulchres. Oh, just ripping them to shreds. And not necessarily egging them on or anything like that. But if he was just a moral teacher and just a good teacher, what was he thinking? By attacking them? It didn't make sense.
They definitely didn't like being upstaged. That's
for sure. And that was the whole plot anyway, is to take out this guy who was wresting the popularity of the population right out from underneath them by telling them that there was a better way and priests weren't needed. Yeah. And so he's even worse. He let them take his life anyway.
Yeah.
And that reveals either a sense of grandeur that he didn't know what he was talking about or thought something would happen that didn't happen, or he was just suicidal. I mean, doesn't make any sense. Either way, Jesus at the end, Jesus maintained command of his mission, and in the end prayed, Father, forgive them. The resolve of Christ demonstrates the supremacy of love through the agony of the cross. God made him who had no sin to be sin for us, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. So we have Jesus was just a teacher, or the latter?
Which is, the world really wants to know, how is Jesus different than Buddha, different than Gandhi, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, there is a difference.
There are a lot of differences, and the thing about each of those viewpoints is that a lot of people are going on observations of spirituality that just doesn't have the right definition to it yet. And it's exciting to see people who have come out of other religions and now attest to freedom in the Christian faith and having been life-changing. And, but at the same time, you have, there was a fella who was a singer, I think, in a Christian band or something like that just walked away from the faith and said he didn't believe it anymore.
Yes.
And the thing that we're trying to really get to assist with here is, how do you not get dissuaded from your faith? How do you maintain a sense of, yes, this is real, I need to keep going as a Christian? acknowledging and surrendering to God is huge.
It's like a real relationship as opposed to just head knowledge of what everybody else is saying. And you'll see Bibles even change the swing of what's going on in society during the time, what's popular.
Right.
So beyond the popular opinion, what is your real relationship?
Right. And on top of, and then like you brought up a little bit earlier, we'll get into this discussion a little bit more that we had over the weekend. But it was a really convincing argument. She said a lot of really, really cool things, and even some things that made me, I'm into this. I mean, I get the doctrine, I get the history, I get the science, I get everything that basically proves this to be true. When you hear a convincing argument on a differing worldview that is well put or passionately delivered, it can do something to kind of, well, maybe I've got this a little bit wrong, or how does this make sense? That was a good point. And when you get into these conversations, I think that's one of the most valuable things that you get from it. I mean, whether or not one person converts the other person's soul for the sake of their religion is moot.
And I'm looking at it as like I'm in the middle going, hey, I can if I added Jesus back into what she's saying.
I know. I was thinking the same thing.
This would amplify my relationship.
Yeah, exactly.
It powers me up to go to the front lines.
Yeah. But you walk away from that. If you walk away from things, there's some people that don't like to question God.
That's true.
And I think it is actually a good thing to ask questions of God.
It's great to have doubt. Doubt just simply means to ask questions.
Look at the Apostle Thomas. Jesus, they heard the testimony of the Marys when they came back from the tomb. They heard the two who were on the road to Emmaus brought him back, Jesus, in the flesh. And Thomas heard all these reports and was like, yeah, right, I'll believe it when I can touch it. And sure enough, Jesus appeared among them and he said, go ahead, touch it.
Touch it.
It's right here. Put your finger in it. There you go. And, I mean, wow. I mean, really, seriously. But he actually ended up being the first apostle to India. Yeah. He traveled all the way across Persia and into the East. And there he found martyrdom. So, anyways, folks, we are going. So anyway, to wrap that up, he was martyred. But he believed so hardcore after that he was willing to succumb to death for his beliefs. And that's the thing. It doesn't matter where your doubt is. You can always find that thing to keep on going, and God will always provide it, whatever that is. So anyways, we got to wrap up for right now this week, and we will see you next week. And hope you have a great time. Yeah. And Lord be with you and bless you. And, hope you can still feel your backsides because I didn't go for too long this time. So, anyways, I love you guys. And I'll talk to you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. If you got any questions, submissions at sanctuaryinternational.com. Again, submissions at sanctuaryinternational.com. Make sure you put attention, connect the dots, Darren or Steve.
Yes.
And we'll look forward to chatting with you.
Yeah, same hair time, same hair channel.
Oh, that's same hair time, same.
Take over the back.
All right, gotcha. All right, cool. Well, you guys have a great evening.